As election season begins again in Newton, residents are starting to think about who they want to vote for the primary election coming up on the 1st of September. Though politics has already gotten more complicated due to the pandemic, State Representative of the 10th Middlesex seat, John Lawn, now has a competitor. For the first time in 9 years, Newton residents will have to make a choice between two candidates for state representative. John J. Lawn Jr. of Watertown was elected into the Massachusetts House of Representatives in 2011 and had remained unopposed until now. For the 2020 primary election on September 1st, Newton's Ward 1 Councilor at Large, Alison Leary, is challenging him for the 10th Middlesex seat, which governs the Waltham, Watertown, and Newton area.
I actually relish having an opponent. I think it's really, it keeps you sharp. It gets you rethinking your work and what your goals are. It sort of gets you to reach out to your constituents more.
The question is, why now?
The reason I decided to run for state rep is I had been frustrated with my specific rep not being active enough on the issues that I deeply care about. And this includes environmental issues.
On Sunday, July 26th, Councilor Leary boosted her campaign efforts with a visibility in Nonantum. But for a few weeks now, Councilor Leary said doing COVID-style canvassing all around the area, knocking on doors, stepping 6 feet back, and keeping hand sanitizer on hand has made all the difference for her campaign.
I think one of your most critical thing is showing up in your district, and certainly going to Democratic committee meetings and other organizations that like to see you, or attending school groups that might want to have you talk, things like that.
Even with COVID-19 in the way, Councilor Leary, like many other U.S. candidates, has tried to find the silver lining in it all.
One thing about COVID is more people are home, more people are working from home, or they have a different kind of schedule. So we really were getting good feedback. And the phones, by the way, no one answers their phone anymore.
She was first elected to the City Council in November of 2013, and since then has focused much of her efforts on climate change reform.
I was really concerned about climate change and environmental impacts, and I didn't see a lot happening at the state and federal level, and I knew that I could be effective locally. And I was, we were the 7th community to phase out single-use plastic bags.
On Twitter as @Environista, along with her other social media platforms, she has spoken out about many of the climate change issues that continue to exist in the area.
The warming of the planet, that in conjunction with tons and tons of marine plastics going into the oceans, threaten our human life on Earth for sure.
Although Newton, Waltham, and Watertown have all created plans to become carbon neutral by 2050, Councilor Leary is pushing for even more support from the Commonwealth.
I just feel like I'm passionate about this. I also have a special interest in solid waste and recycling issues, which we're really failing at in this state. We're running out of landfill space. More and more communities are going to see their solid waste costs skyrocket. And of course, what happened with China not wanting our mediocre, poor quality recycling feedstock anymore. We need to grow our own domestic recycling processing plants. We need to get manufacturers and producers on board with planning the end use of their product.
Along with working to repair leaky pipelines and eliminating the use of fossil fuels altogether, Councilor Leary also has been focusing on social issues such as economic and environmental justice, as well as police reform.
Supporting police and Black Lives Matter are not exclusionary. There's room for both of them. There's no reason why the police departments should not also be reviewed and scrutinized just like any other organization or business.
On her Facebook page, she wrote that she has also devoted much of her time to advocating for, quote, more housing opportunities, investments in public transit, and transparency and accountability on Beacon Hill. Though more recently, the candidate said that she is also choosing to run against Representative John Lawn to give more voting rights to Massachusetts residents. Currently, voters must register at least 20 days before Election Day. Councilor Leary stated on her website that, according to the America Goes to the Polls report from nonprofit Vote and the U.S. Elections Project, states with same-day registration have received an advantage of 7 percentage points over those without it. Meanwhile, Representative Lawn, as chair of the Joint Committee on Election Laws, worked alongside Senator Barry Feingold of Andover to expand voting options during the COVID-19 pandemic. Out of fear for the safety of Massachusetts residents, Representative Lawn has enforced legislation allowing residents to vote early and vote by mail for the primary and general elections, which would be a first for the Commonwealth.
We do know it's going to be a challenge. It's not perfect, but it does provide us a lot of safe options for voters this fall.
According to his website, johnlawn.org, the incumbent state representative has also had a long history of success in the Massachusetts government. For example, he has recently shown his support for hazard pay for essential workers during the pandemic. Both working on critical issues in the area, the fight for the seat will not be easy. Maxine Friedman, Newton News, Newton Center.